through how to do the shapes practice. So from Canvas, you have to download it. Once you download it, you should be able to find it in your downloads. I've opened it recently. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. You probably won't have this. Actually, you will have that. It says it can't find a screenshot. What you're going to do is ignore. So right now, I want you to rename this file so that you can put it on your desktop and that you can rename it with your last name. So my last name, and then I keep the rest of it, Shapes Practice. .ai. You never have to type in the AI. It should always put it in there for you. If you type it in, sometimes it can make a mistake. So I never mess with the file extension. So go ahead and save. I can keep all these. All right, so I should be able to see it over here on my desktop, except I didn't change the spot where it's supposed to be saved. So I'm going to go do it again. There it is. Instead of downloads, I'm going to save it to my desktop. All right, and then okay, and there it is. So the first thing you're going to notice is that you cannot do anything on here. It gives you that little pencil with the no. So add a new layer. So right now I want you to make sure that you have the correct workspace. So the workspace we've been working on is Essentials Classic. If you've been working on something else, fine, but you need to see the control bar, you need to see the toolbars, and we need to see layers. So if I go ahead and choose Essentials Classic, I don't see the layers over here, so I can go choose layers here, or I can click that button there. So I do need to see the layers. I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to make my screen a little bit bigger. And from here, I'm going to create a new layer, add a new layer. So right down here at the bottom, I have a new layer. Now I'm able to do all my drawing on this layer. Okay, split a shape using the eraser tool. So I have to draw a shape. So go ahead and draw a shape. I'm going to change the fill to something. I'm going to change the stroke. And I'm just going to draw a shape. And I got to split it using the eraser tool. So the eraser tool is right here. And I'm going to go ahead and divide it. So there it is. I can also use the eraser tool, and a little bit later I can use it to change the shape of something just slightly. And that will come in handy when we're doing this pizza. Create something by combining shapes together using the Shape Builder tool. So again, I'm going to have to draw some shapes. So I'm going to draw this, and then I'm going to change to the ellipse tool. I'm going to do a circle, and I'm going to overlap them. So to combine the shapes with the Shape Builder, I have to choose the Select tool, select both of those, either by clicking and dragging, click and drag, or I can click on one, hold Shift on my keyboard, and click the other. Now they're both selected. I'm going to switch to the Shape Builder tool, and I'm going to drag across it. That combines them. So then it says create something by deleting parts of a shape using the Shape Builder tool. So again, I'm going to draw something, and then I'm going to draw something else right on top. Maybe that and that. Now they disappeared because they don't have a stroke on them, but they are still there. So I'm going to go select them all. Then I'm going to choose my Shape Builder. Now, if I were to click and drag, this is going to add two. So I need to subtract from or delete from. I'm going to hold Option on my keyboard, and then I click those areas that I want to delete, and then they go away. Now I'm going to move anchor points on a shape around using the Direct Select tool to create a different shape. So here's my selection tool. This selects the entire object. Here's my Direct Selection tool. Now, right now, everything is selected. But if I click on one of these, now just that point is selected. Or if I click off of it and then I go and clicked one of those boxes, these boxes are called anchor points, then I can select it. So now I can click, hold down my click and drag it, and I am changing the shape. I am moving that little point around. The other thing besides moving the point is I can move what is called a handle, and this changes the curve of the object. All right, so I have done my practice. I've used all the tools that I need in order to do this, and I'm gonna use my tools we've gone over so far to recreate the pizza slice. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in over here, and I'm gonna start to choose the different shape tools. And what I'm thinking about is I'm actually going to be building this from the back to the front. So we are going to deal with stacking order. This is a new concept. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to recreate that background shape. And now it covers it all up. So I'm actually going to move it over here. And because I want this to be the exact same color as this, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. And that will select whatever is selected. It's going to change it to that color. And it also does the stroke of it, not just the fill. So the next thing is I'm going to do this shape here. I think that's behind, and then this part is in front. So I'm going to use my rounded rectangle tool because that's probably the closest thing I have. I'm going to use my selection tool, select the whole thing, move it over here. Now, since this is covering up what I'm drawing, I am actually going to make the fill be nothing and the stroke be something that I can see. And now I'm going to resize it to be about the same size. And then this is where I'm going to use that direct selection tool to move a few of the points to make them a little bit more like my drawing. Actually, there looks like there's two anchors there. So I'm going to move that one, move that one, move that one. So I'm following that curve more. Now this one, the curve, I'm gonna change it. This one, let's see if I can get a curve in here. Curve to follow that a little bit more. There we go. Now, I think that this part of the pizza crust is going to be under this darker orange, so I'm actually not worried about that one as much. All right, and then this part is going to be overlapped by that red, so I'm really just concerned about this part up here. So I'm going to take a little bit more time selecting the points and moving them to see if it'll match. Something that's happening, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of snapping. It's like moving it too quickly to something I don't want. So I'm actually going to change that setting. Up here in view, if I go all the way down here, it says snap to point. I'm going to uncheck that. That's going to give me a little bit more freedom and precision. All right, that's pretty good. I would, kind of fiddle around with it a little bit more. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to change it to the color that matches. There it is. So next thing, I think I'm going to go for this little piece here. So what I'm noticing here is this looks like an ellipse right here. And again, because I draw it and it covers it up, I can't see what I'm tracing. I'm going to switch my stroke and fill. And I think if I just rotate this a little bit, it'll be what I want. So now I have to somehow get a shape. Guess it looks like a long, skinny triangle. maybe. So I think I'm gonna go to the polygon tool. I'm gonna click once, and then I can make a triangle. Okay, now this is definitely not the triangle I need. So I'm gonna rotate it. I am gonna squish it, squish it. Let's see. I think at this point I'm gonna use that direct selection tool. Make it smaller, rotate it. All right, so I'm gonna continue like this. Once I have the shape that I need, this might be a good candidate for the eraser. So what I would do with this, if I'm gonna use it to get that curve, is I would select my eraser and I would run it along that edge. And see how that made that curve? And then up here, I'm gonna do the same thing. Notice the eraser only works on the shape I have selected. So now that my eraser tool has allowed me to make some changes with a curve, I'm gonna start moving these. The other thing we didn't really discuss is this little thing right here. So if I have a polygon that has corners, if I select on it with the direct select tool, I can make it into a curve. And now that curve can be moved. So I'm going to keep working on this. When I feel like those pieces are correct, I am going to hold Shift. I'm going to join them together. I can use the Shape Builder tool. This is pretty straightforward. I might want to use the Pathfinder tool just to join them. And then again, I'm going to move this over here. Should fit on there. Use my eyedropper tool. Select the thing I want it to be, but I would want to make sure that's the shape that I want it to be. All right, the next thing, there's two different ways to go about the next part. Number one, I could think about this as there is a solid white thing underneath this red thing. So the red slice, the toppings, I guess, I could make that, and then I could erase out from it, showing the white underneath. Or I could make a solid red shape, and then I could add these blobs on top. So it's really whatever you think is best. But let's say I was going to do it with the red is on top and the white is underneath. I'm going to start with that rectangle again, and I want it to be see-through. Oops, that's a bad choice because that'll blend in. Gonna bring it over here, and I think the easiest way, I mean I could squish it, but I think the easiest way just to do this is to move those points. And again, I'm gonna make this into a curve, just like I did on the other one, because that's a curve down there. I'm gonna move these, move these. So if I make this bigger than it needs to be, I can use my eraser tool rather than using all those little tiny, moving all the points. So the eraser tool, it's not maybe as precise, but if I come along here and I go here and then go up over here, that's gonna give me a pretty good, and I know we're using a mouse, it's not as precise maybe as you'd like, but that's pretty good. That's a lot faster than trying to manipulate all those points. And then I can go in and move these a little bit more. So if I think of this as a white layer underneath a red layer, I'm going to show you what I would do. I'm going to take this over here. I'm going to set it on there. I'm going to turn it white. Now, I'm going to make a copy of this right on top. And I can right click and do this, copy, and paste. Now there's another copy. I'm going to put it right on top. I'm going to turn it red. Okay. Well, actually, I'm not going to turn it red yet. I am going to put it on here, and I'm going to erase out those. So let's give it an outline. Okay. So if I took this, and now I took my eraser, and I erased this little thing out, and this, and this. Boom. Now I can move this back over here, and I can change it into the color I need it to be. So at this point, I mean, obviously my crust down here is not finished, but you would make that the shape that it needs to be. I want to get rid of this. The last thing it tells you to do is to resize your drawing here. So you're going to select all of these parts, move it down here, and you're going to resize it to fit here. So what you should do, move it all down here. I'm going to hold shift. Very important to hold shift as I resize it. And then I have my pizza. I mean, I'm not happy with this. I would take a lot more time, but that's the basic process.